We're looking at writing equations for parallel lines and perpendicular lines. We're going to identify what the differences are between these two. The first part, parallel lines have the same slope. Yeah, you can write it. And perpendicular lines have something called negative reciprocal. Mm-hmm. Now, another word for negative in this situation is something called opposite. Because what we're doing is that we are changing the sign of the slope in this situation and then flipping it upside down. So there's two ways. So one way is writing it down as negative reciprocal for perpendicular. The other way is opposite reciprocal. So for all the examples that we have here, we have to do three things. We have to determine the slope of the new line. We have to substitute the slope into m and point into x1 and y1 of the point slope form. So the point slope form is written to my right here. Y minus y1 equals to m times x minus x1. Okay. Then the third thing we're going to do is solve for y to convert the equation to slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. So it seems like quite a few steps, but each of the example problems will be written in a way that we first find the slope, then we use the point and the slope to put it into point-slope form, and then the third step is we just convert it to slope-intercept. So you're going to see that. In the perpendicular fashion, we're given the slope-intercept form already from the box before. We've already done all this work. All we have to do is take the given line and create the negative reciprocal. So you see the slope here is written as negative 1 over m. Okay? So we take the slope from the original function and then we just write it as negative 1 over m. We change the sign and we flip it upside down. So to see this into practice, from equation number 1, they give us two things. We find out we're given the point and we have a line. First thing I want to do is identify what is the slope of that line. So I'm going to take a look at this number that's in front of the x. It's negative 2. So that's how easy it is to identify the slope. We're always given a line and a point. So if we're given the line, all you have to do is look for the number in front of x to find the slope. Okay? The second part, point slope form. This is where we have to start doing some of our math. So here, I need to identify what my x1 and y1 is. It comes from the point that I was given earlier, 1, negative 2. So y minus negative 2 equals to, again, negative 2, that's my slope, times x minus x1, which is 1. Now, I'm pretty close to having my final point slope form. Remember that when I have a negative sign, when I have two negative signs together, I turn into what? Positive, correct. So this becomes y plus 2, and that equals to negative 2 times x minus 1. So I've now done the second step. I've now written it in point slope form. From there, I can go ahead and convert it to slope intercept form. And so the first thing I'm going to do to start the slope intercept form, I'm going to multiply negative 2 into everything inside the parentheses. I keep the left side the way it is. But the right side now changes to this after distribution. So negative 2 times x, it gives me negative 2x. Okay, negative 2 times x gives me this. Negative 2 times negative 1 gives me positive 2. Second step is subtract the 2 from the left side and from the right side. Basically what I'm doing is combining like terms. So what I'm left with is y equals to negative 2x. Now I have my slope intercept form, and this line is parallel. The reason why it's parallel, is because that negative 2 is the same as the negative 2 from the original line. You guys see that, right? Has the what? The same slope. That's what we wrote down, right? The very first thing, same slope. So then the last part is perpendicular slope intercept form. Since I've already have the parallel line, all I have to do is take the negative reciprocal of that slope, flip it upside down, and change the sign. So m perpendicular, I'm going to write it like an upside down T like this, is going to equal to negative 1 over negative 2. To simplify that, this becomes 1 over a positive 2, right? Because a negative makes it positive. So therefore, my slope, or my y perpendicular, or equation of the perpendicular line, however you want to understand it, is equal to 1 divided by 2x. So as I stop writing here, notice I'm going to go ahead and make a comparison here. Notice the slope of the perpendicular line is the negative reciprocal of the parallel line. And now I say negative because it was negative originally, right? But we make a negative into a negative, you turn it into a positive, and then we flip it upside down. So to recap, we identify the slope first. We go ahead and then write it into point slope form by using the slope and the point that is given to us. Those two things have to be given to us. We then convert to slope intercept form by distributing our slope to everything in parentheses, and then by subtracting our y point or adding our y point, whatever needs to happen, to get a slope intercept form. Then the perpendicular slope is just taking the negative reciprocal of the parallel slope to get our perpendicular line. So in this problem, I wrote a 1 in front of the x because there was no number there, but it doesn't mean that it is 0. Since that x exists by itself, there's a 1, so my slope is 1. So now in my point slope form, y minus y1 equals to 1 times x minus x1. They also give us some other information. This is our point that they give to us, 4 comma negative 1. So y minus a negative 1 equals to my slope 1, obviously, x minus 4. Now, I don't have to keep writing this 1 here because we automatically know that 1 times anything is anything, right? So in the next line, you're not going to see it anymore. And I'm going to simplify the negative signs in between y and 1. So I get y plus 1 equal to x minus 4. So this is my point slope form that I have. So to find the equation, I have to subtract 1. I don't know why I did not do that. Just logging out of class. That's funny, Jason. So when I subtract 1, I'm going to get y equals to x minus 5. That is going to be my equation here. And so for my perpendicular slope, it's going to be negative 1 over 1. Remember, the slope is right here. There's a 1 right there. But negative 1 divided by 1 just gives me what, guys? Do I have to keep it like that? What is 1 divided by 1 going to be? 1. So I just keep the negative sign. And so therefore, my perpendicular line is going to be negative x minus 5. Okay, so we have a test problem. This is an example. What is the equation of the line that passes through the point 2, 5 and is perpendicular to the line y equals negative 3x minus 4? Remember, they have to give you a line and they have to give you a point so that you can actually figure this out. So the first thing is we're going to use the slope of the line and the point and put it into point slope form. So remember that my slope perpendicular is going to equal to negative 1 over that negative 3 that you see right here. You see how I'm circling it? That negative 3, that is my original slope. So I'm just going to take the negative reciprocal of that. The reason why I'm going to that step first, because the question asked me for perpendicular, right? It's not asking me for parallel. So I'm kind of going to that point first. Then I know that I have a point I believe it's 2, 5. That's my point. So in point slope form, y minus 2 equals to, now remember, negative divided by negative is the same thing as negative times a negative. I'll make it to a positive. So 1 divided by 3 times x, my God, I just made a mistake here. It should be x minus 2 and then y minus 5 over here. So right there, I have the slope, point slope form. Now it just wants me to write it in slope-intercept form. Y minus 5 equals to 1 over 3 x minus 2. Starting off with this equation, I'm going to distribute the 1/3 into everything here first, and then I'll add the 5 last. Then 1/3 times -2 gives me -2/3. Next step I have to do is add the 5 to both sides. And I have to combine it with this fraction. So it doesn't look too pretty, I'm sorry. But it's good to practice our fractions here. So now if I think about this, this is actually saying, I'm going to write on the side here, 5 over 1 minus 5 divided by 1 minus 2 divided by 3. I can take, remember, I can take any whole number and turn it into a fraction, right? As 5 divided by 1. Okay, that's a clue here. So now I got to find a common denominator. What's my common denominator here? Huh? It'll be number 3. So whatever I do to the bottom to change it to 3, I also have to change the top, correct? So now this will turn it into 15 divided by 3 minus 2 divided by 3. So all I need to take care of is subtract the numerators, and I have it as 13 over 3. So this is my equation. This is the perpendicular line. And the reason why it's perpendicular is because it asked me in the beginning, what is a perpendicular line to this function? So to recap, we went ahead and we found the perpendicular slope first, and we went straight to point slope form. I don't know why this is freezing up on me. We found this first, used the point, and put it in point slope form. That was easiest. So we actually skipped those steps and went straight to that. The second part, we solved for the y-intercept form by solving for y. So we had to distribute and then combine like terms to get our perpendicular form.